Business pants. That is Monday. Thank you, everybody.
That's it. That's what we
That's
got.
it. I feel tired, so it must be over, right? That's Matt Mosconi. I'm Damon Rose. Oh, we are Free Float Media. Yes.
We're on video today.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Well, that's good because nobody cares. I mean, literally
Uh,
nobody cares. There isn't anybody who asked us to do this on video. There's not anybody who asked us to do anything ever. So
That's true. Oh no, we have one. We have one really avid listener who not only I think it's a she. She does seem to care. She gives us she directs us into different directions. You know what I'm saying? She tells us not to do that and to do this and how dare you and you're boring. Right? So now she's the voice in my head.
here's the thing, listeners. I'm
Yeah.
saying plural because I know there's more than one of you out there. When you tell us to do something, the ones who tell us to do it, we do that thing. So
Yeah.
if you want to hear anything at all you literally have to do is tell us to do it, and we will do it.
Just say something. Today's train wreck of a show is based precisely on listener feedback, who basically said that she can't stand our Monday morning list shows, which is a shame because that's what we do on Monday morning. But
It's always a good sign. What is today, by the way?
oh, it's a Monday morning list show. It's September 21st, 2020. Is it the first day of fall?
Oh, technically, yeah. You feeling
Good, because
cool? It's a cold day today, too.
yeah. This is the first day I'm using my heater. I'm already segued into misery of winter, which is nice.
Nice. Win-win. I think we did like
All
one
right, Matt.
week ago. We were talking about you in a sweat box. What is our terrible list show today?
Okay, so here's how we're gonna adapt to please our listener, and I hope she hasn't turned it off yet, because then we're down to single digits.
I already turned it off.
I thought today we'd look at the top business news websites. So these are ranked by monthly visitors, and I'm just gonna quickly look at how they cover the business news. Then we're gonna either talk about what's going on or we're gonna make fun of stuff.
Win-win. That's what we do. That is all of business pants.
Do you want to get us going?
Yeah, I'll we have sound
in.
effects now. Ready?
Yeah. First of all, Matt, what do you think is the number one visited business news website?
Oh, wow.
Or even just give me a top 5. Do you have an idea?
I'll give you a top 0. No,
Okay.
my guess is the number 1 would be the Wall Street Journal, just the Wall Street Journal homepage.
Wall Street Journal is at number 5.
5?
Yeah.
It's not even 2 or 3? Wow.
Wow, you grasped that concept pretty quickly, yeah. Not even at 2. No, it's at 5.
That's really sad to me.
And I'll say this: it has 42 million unique monthly visitors. The site number 1 is 75 million.
Wow, this is riveting content, by the way.
Yeah,
what is number 1?
I know. Yahoo Finance. There you go.
Yahoo Finance is the number 1 business news.
Well,
we look for our news at a place called Yahoo.
People still have AOL accounts, AOL like email accounts. So, whatever. Don't judge. All right, let's get to it. Let's see what Yahoo Finance thinks.
What did they say today?
Here's the number 1 headline: Dow futures shed 500 plus points as September gloom continues. So I don't know. Nobody cares about that.
Except for anybody who has stocks.
But you can find that information everywhere.
Well, yeah. Well, all you have to do is open your portfolio. Yes, correct.
And then, of course, the second one is why a stock market already priced for perfection can go a lot higher.
Wait,
what?
So you've lost all your money, but now it should go higher? Is that what that means?
Yeah, I think the point overall, I'm not going to go any longer on Yahoo Finance. I think the point overall is that they're crackpots.
I will tell you this: I do get the Yahoo Finance newsletter.
Do you?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Because you signed up for it in 1998 and you just don't know how to unsubscribe?
I actually signed up for it like 3 weeks ago
Oh, all
because
right. Well,
it felt like the kind of thing that like I needed to get. Like I don't get enough news, but we started talking about doing these list shows, and I don't
oh,
read enough lists. Like I don't actually pay attention to the lists because
yeah.
they're so blowhard. There's no like real information in them for the most part that
And
I
look,
just gave up.
and now I'm talking to the listener who hates our lists. Here's the reason why we do these lists is because this is how most people now interact with news and information is that they go to websites or they get headlines sent to them and they kind of scan the headlines. Like that's kind of how we interact with the world now. So that's why I thought it was important to at least analyze this a little bit to see how people are what they're gleaning.
Nothing.
Oh, let's go to Forbes. Forbes is number 2 on the list. Here's their top headline. So maybe this is a little bit nicer. What do you think? Meet the secretive billionaire who makes McDonald's McNuggets, Burger King's Impossible Whoppers, and more. That's a little bit more intriguing.
That is intriguing. Well, when you said meat, I thought it was going to be a
Oh,
story about meat, and I was going to get
right.
really excited.
So this is a new Forbes 400 member Sheldon Levine owns OSI Group, the behind-the-scenes supplier for brands like Kraft, Whole Foods, Chipotle. I don't know much about OSI Group, so I'm giving Forbes a thumbs up here. Like I'm interested. I'm going to dig into this later.
Well, yeah, I feel like their name popped for some reason during coronavirus because aren't they one of the like meat suppliers that was saying
Injecting coronavirus. Yeah.
yeah that there would be meat
Per-
shortages
yes.
and that everyone was despite the fact that all their workers were dying of coronavirus, they didn't do anything about it. I feel like their name popped amongst that crowd.
And also, despite the fact that there were not going to be meat shortages, in fact, they were still exporting a crap ton to China of all places, and that everything was fine.
Yeah. Did anybody get not enough meat during the coronavirus?
Oh my God.
I mean, there's so much meat.
There's also a nice tidbit here, adding to our growing list of our favorite athletes who are like joining companies. NFL star DeAndre Hopkins joins Therabody as investor and endorser. Anyway, we don't have to spend time on that.
Did you know that there was an effort to allow athletes to sell stock of themselves?
I like that.
They were effectively guaranteeing a portion of their future cash flow.
Whoa.
So they would sign, and it was usually contracts only, but some of them would be endorsement deals. So they would like sell a piece of themselves, and they would
I like
get the
it.
money up front for anything. It was only like signed on by a couple of like late career
Hmm.
athletes, because if you were LeBron James and you were 24 years old, there's absolutely no way you'd give anyone some percentage of your potential earnings. But it was a fascinating idea. It feels a little like that.
I know I saw a new movement in, I think it was minor league baseball, where the players I guess it was like their version of a union where they were joining together and making pacts that they would share salary going forward so that, because the chances of getting into Major League Baseball and making a lot of money is extremely low. So that maybe if one of your group of 40 hit, that you'd all be paid handsomely. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds
That,
great.
come on.
But
Do you think we could do that at Facebook?
but if you were
Could you imagine?
the one who hit and you had to write a check to all the others, that
Honestly,
it's the
I would
antithesis of human nature.
Well, no, but it's the same thing as these like lottery packs. Although, no one really hits the lottery, but you make these packs with your friends or your coworkers that if one of us hits that we're going to share. I
Except
think
it's
it's
not a lottery. It's supposed to be a merit based system.
yeah, that's true. You know what? I would sign up for this. Given the chance at that
It's
age, if I
because you
was like,
suck at stuff.
if I was in double A ball here in Portland, Maine, eating a Italian sandwich at Amato's, I
Eating
would
a
probably be like, I'd be like, yeah, why not?
You'd be eating a meaty OSI group Impossible Whopper.
All right, Forbes. So I don't know. I don't know about you, Forbes.
That's
Maybe.
kind of good.
MS,
That was better than
number
Yahoo.
Well, if I go down the list, though, I mean, I don't know if I care about DeAndre Hopkins. The fourth highest story is Papa John's is adding headquarters in Atlanta.
Oh, I'm all in on that. What? So, which famous black athlete it lives in Atlanta are they going to put on their board next, just in
I
case
hope it's
they go
Dominique
racist
Wilkins.
again? That's an
I
amazing
hope it's
story.
Dominique Wilkins. All right, let's go to the third most visited site, and this is MSN Money.
Am
Believe
I
it or
supposed
not.
to be dinging bells for each site?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead,
Okay,
ding
here
it.
we go. Woohoo!
Okay, so this is where we get into the depth of clickbait nonsense. Here's what's going on at MSN Money: 20 hot jobs that pay more than $150,000. Here's how much you'll need to save to retire a
Ugh.
millionaire. 30 truths retirees wish they had known beforehand.
Oh.
Unique tiny homes around the world. So that's just a bunch of bullshit.
All of those links just make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
Here's a list of the things that you've done wrong with your entire life. You live in a house that's too big for you. You haven't saved enough, so you're not going to be a millionaire. You're probably fatter than you should be, and your significant other hates you. I mean, it's just what is that? Why does anybody read that?
Let's go to CNN Business number 4. There's actually two stories that kind of fall into our world here. So maybe they're pinko ESG socialists. The fourth biggest story today is capitalism isn't working anymore. Here's how the pandemic could change it forever. Whoa, that's like a stakeholder capitalism story, it sounds like.
Do we think it
And then
actually is?
and then Nikola founder steps down after allegations the electric truck startup misled investors. Did you hear about that? That he stepped down?
Yeah, I didn't hear that he stepped down. I did hear that he pushed one of his trucks down a hill. That's what I heard, and that's the misleading investors part.
Well, so let me at least wrap up that story. We covered that last week. They had a video for investors showing how amazing their truck was. The video was actually shot on a hill, and the truck was rolling down that hill. It wasn't actually driving. Here's what he said. Here's the quote. This is Trevor Milton, and I should have looked into how much of the company he actually owns. Maybe you can do that while I'm babbling, because I don't know if he's a dictator or not. Here's what he said. So he's resigned. He's no longer the executive chair. He's off the board. He said, I asked the board of directors to let me step aside from my roles as executive chairman and a member of Nikola board of directors. The, fo- the focus should be on the company and its world-changing mission, not me.
Was
Did you
it
look it
on
up?
him? I can't.
Uh,
I don't. I can't see how many shares he owns quickly. It does not seem to suggest he owns a majority of shares.
Not a dictator.
However, uh, I mean, was it? It is him stepping down really about like, wow, there's just so much focus on me, not the fact that I rolled a truck down a hill and our vehicles don't work.
Well, look, but this is the way. I mean, this is what we talk about here all the time. Is this is how tech companies this is how they need to be now. They have to be. It's all about like feeding the the narcissistic rage or whatever, right? I mean, you can never just sort of create a company and have the company be a focus. Does that happen anymore?
I guess not.
Uh,
No,
it looks like he owns, as of the IPO statement, it looks like he owns 25% of the company. So not a true
that's a
dictator.
lot. That is not a full dictator, but that's still a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Um, okay, so let's move on to MSN Money is okay. We established that MSN Money is bullshit. CNN Business. I don't know. You got anything to say about CNN Business?
I also, I mean, well, actually, no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, look, that's a human drama. What's interesting about some of these stories, like when we do any story about, there's any list story about save for retirement or the Dow, was mixed today. That to me is useless information. At least these are sort of governance-y dramas. Like
Yeah.
at least this is how people run companies or think about running companies, or it's a little more interesting.
Yeah. I think so far CNN Business is most aligned with us. They also have a story about how former Pepsi CEO Donald Kendall has died.
But I don't know if
You
I
don't have
care
to.
about that.
You don't have to say that. You don't have to say anything about that. All right, let's move on to the Wall Street Journal, number 5 on the list. It's different. See, listener, this is a different kind of list. Although I'm sensing that there's this, she's really going to be upset about this. The number one story in Wall Street Journal, they like to cover a bit more news, is that Trump says he will nominate a woman to Supreme Court this week.
I don't know if I can talk about um, RBG yet. I don't know that I can get there. It's so sad to me.
Yeah, no, it's like it's probably the greatest stomach punch of 2020. I didn't think anything would hurt more this year, but that one hurt.
That one,
here's a quote.
One did hurt, yeah.
Here's a quote that I am going to give from RBG because it's definitely business pants adjacent. She said, "When I'm sometimes asked, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? And I say, when there are 9, people are shocked. But there'd been 9 men and nobody's ever raised a question about that." So that's some good, that's some ESG talk right there. That's some women in leadership. Let's get these old hairy-eared white men off the board kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it does make me think of that and you were asked, like, can you prove to us that having women on boards matters? And you would say, prove to me having more men on boards matters.
Right.
It is a nice, but I can't. I mean, like, she was probably the closest thing to a stakeholder capitalist you had on the Supreme Court, right? Although, Lena Kagan's pretty progressive, but she was so, I don't know, she was so like level-headed about stuff. She just had a moral center. I guess maybe that's what's such a gut punch, because we read so much business news. You and I spend our days mired in business news.
Why do we do it?
And there's literally, it feels like there's no moral center anywhere. Like,
no.
I'm not in it for the morality tales. However, it is very odd that you can go like long swaths of your day and read no stories where people do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Like, that just seems like a weird universe to live in.
Yeah, she also had a charisma that drew people to her too, which I think is also clearly important. Because yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be, and this is a bit of a segue, but speaking of moral center, I don't know if it's going to be in the Wall Street Journal, but we have now gone 4 groups of the most read business news sites. Not one of them has mentioned Oracle and TikTok. And,
okay.
And that whole situation.
Wall Street Journal, their top business story is TikTok deal faces questions over security ownership. So, and then they also cover Nikola. So they're a bit more. They seem a bit more serious, the Wall Street Journal.
However, like is it the security questions that's really the problem? Like we said on this show when they announced that Oracle, before the bidding started, or before the bidding ended rather, that if Oracle won and Trump approved it, it's a 1-to-1 crony kind of move.
Yeah.
Right. Especially because we knew that, like, you kept saying they wouldn't own the algorithm. All they would own is like, like the right to operate it in the US pretty much. And that's what's happened. Like, we've watched it unfold to the point where now looks like what Oracle gets is a cloud computing contract to operate TikTok's cloud computing needs in the US, and Trump said that was enough, but it's still 80% owned by ByteDance because it's they're going to start a new company called like TikTok Global, and ByteDance owns 80% of that company, and Oracle and Walmart's in this deal as the retailer for the US operations. So they basically ostensibly sell stuff on TikTok. They're the
Speaking of
platform.
cronyism.
I mean, does it get any more crony than the Waltons fake public, Oracle fake public, how they're all friends with Trump? They get 20% of a deal of a major social media network that everyone in the universe was afraid of. Zuckerberg has been talking about how, China's the worst. We didn't get China out of it at all, but now
No.
suddenly we're blessing the deal. We're cool with this. I mean,
Yeah, this is Trump's corporate like build the wall moment. It's all created for posturing and to funnel. Yeah, you're right. To funnel power and money to his cronies. That's like it's a very simple. This is the way Trump operates. It's very simple, and not to mention that we've been covering the TikTok story for months. This was basically the plan all along, was to establish some kind of U.S. presence. So so all really Trump did is step in, and he stirred up the hatred, the xenophobic, anti-China hatred, and he ensured that the deal would go to the people that he wanted the deal to go to. That's all that's really happened here, right?
I mean, if there should be outrage from the TikTok community, and there was about a potential ban, and now that it's like not banned, I feel like we're gonna forget. We're gonna move to this next phase of like, hooray! TikTok is saved, our favorite social media app. I love it. Yada yada yada. You should actually be more outraged because the whole thing was political theater for a
Hmm.
couple of fake public billionaires to get a cut of a Chinese company that they didn't like. They could talk about national security concerns all they want, and I'm sure they exist. There are national security concerns that are significantly larger at Facebook, which has 3 billion plus users in the world, where we manipulate elections. There's all sorts of illegal stuff happening on their platforms that they can't control. And yet, we were so focused on using the political theater of China that if you go back on your TikTok app now, you should actually feel outraged that you were used as a political pawn to make some billionaires some more billions for no other reason than that. There's literally nothing else that came out of this. We didn't solve the security concern. We didn't solve the China boogeyman. We didn't solve any of that. I mean, I feel like, and I don't mean to be like an in your face lefty rantist, because that's not really.
This doesn't sound very lefty. I think it just sounds like an adult. You're asking for like an adult market. I don't know.
I mean, the
Adult
whole
regulation,
point of these
adult
markets,
oversight.
like it just shocks me how often that like markets don't realize it's a democratic market, right? Like, and I don't mean that by price, because everyone thinks about markets, the democracy of the markets, or you vote with your dollar, either what you buy or the stock price that the price that you select. The democracy is the ability to change the companies. And now we're talking about companies that you cannot change, and billionaires who are insulated from all accountability, and billionaires who all know each other, and Trump, who effectively stepped in and made billionaires more billionary. Now, none of that has anything to do with reality. Like, none of that,
Right.
it only has to do with accumulation of wealth in a smaller number of hands.
Well, yeah, it has to do with the reality of that small group of people, their reality.
But it's not. Was Oracle asking for this? Maybe Larry Ellison was in meetings
Well,
being like, "I wish I could get a piece of that TikTok deal."
yeah,
But
who
but the
knows?
but I'm not sure that was the grand ask here. I'm
Let,
not sure
let
it
me
was.
let me tell you this to make you feel better.
No, you won't.
I'm on the
I wish I was dead now.
I'm, I'm on the Oracle website, and this is one of the most, clearly one of the most powerful companies in the world, and they have executive biographies of their leaders, right? Because I mean, it's a publicly traded company, and these are, it should be important to know who people like Larry Ellison are, right? You would almost think that they have an obligation to tell us about this person. I
Double
mean, this is
dropout. He was
this
a
is a
double
very
dropout.
important person, very important person. I will tell you this: his executive biography on the official website of Oracle is 3 sentences long, and the last sentence is he also races sailboats, flies planes, and plays tennis and guitar.
Oh, thank God. Oh,
This is how serious they take their relationship with the rest of the world.
I don't know. It's bananas to me. It's bananas that any shareholder would be okay with this either, right? Like, and this is like the systemic flaw, because if
Yeah.
you own Oracle stock, you love every second of this, right? Because you just got a cut of a massive global social media network that you have effectively, no, there was no chance you were going to get a piece of that action. You just got a piece of that action. This Oracle stock's up almost 2% today already, because a couple of buddies called each other and said, "Hey, if you get the deal, I'll bless it. I won't ban it. I'll make sure you get a cut." Like, what is that? Is that really like the meritocracy we fashion markets to be? Is that really about proper pricing and value? Even Walmart's up 50 bips today. It just seems crazy to me that this is all okay. This is all, everyone's
Well,
like, it's fine. That makes sense.
isn't this where your index providers like MSCI or listing exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, isn't this where they can start to get involved? They can start to exclude these kind of companies that just act like deviants? I mean,
There should
can't
be,
we eventually get there where we just don't let things like dictatorships on our publicly traded markets? Can't we eventually get there?
I used to be more agnostic. I'll admit, when I was at the mothership, I didn't really care. I thought it was a little weird, but I didn't really care. I actually remember we did at MSCI, we did a consultation with clients and asked them, do you want these dual class, these fake public companies on the index or not? And the majority of institutional owners, I think it was like the big, like CalPERS, like pension funds, said no, because what we do, we own the whole market, we have to, and we can't do anything about these companies. But the majority of the managers, like the BlackRocks and the Fidelities, the people who take the institution's money and then invest
Right.
it for them, they said, yeah, because we want all the upside. We want to see the price
Right.
appreciation. And in the end, MSCI, FTSE, S&P, they all said, you know what? There's no consensus. Just leave them on because they're publicly traded. We're going to give. I talked to the CEO of MSCI about this, and I asked him about this, and his ideology was, we make available the market. That's it. We make available the market. Like, if it meets technical criteria for you to buy it, if you can buy that stock, like if it's liquid enough, you can trade it, and there's technical criteria, but we make it available to you and through an index. And then you can buy any number of sub indexes which get rid of things that you don't like or alter the market. But we make available the market as an index.
Right. Which is his version of saying that, like everybody else, we're not doing any due diligence. We're going to pass the buck. We're going to kick the can up the road. Don't look at me. I don't know what to say.
Well, I just think definitionally,
Not my problem.
I think it's more than that, because I think to me, it's a definition of what is the market, right? Like, it's not we make available the market and we can like just say, well, somebody else makes up the rules of what's tradable, and we just measure whether or not you can trade it and say then you can have it and put it in an index. It's what is the market fundamentally supposed to be. And if you cannot participate in the market. If the only participation is you buy a share and then you sit on it like a lug, because you can't do anything after that, is that real participation? Is that just gambling? Fake public companies is the same thing as betting on the Baltimore Ravens to win. It's the same exact thing. You have no influence over the outcome unless you're a crazy person and you go to the game and like try to kill somebody. You have no influence on the outcome of that. In fact, differentiating fake public stocks from going to Vegas and betting on ponies is impossible. At a bare minimum, market participation means you can buy the stock and you have a voice. You actually can do something with that stock. You can vote with that stock. If you remove that right, is it different from gambling? And then, do we want the market to be a casino? Because what the tech companies have done now is turn the market into a casino by not giving you any rights. That's what the market is now. And that's what Robinhood traders are finding out the hard way.
Yeah, except there's some other issues related to this, right? Which is that a lot of the dictatorships we're talking about are big data. I mean, they're Facebooks, they're Googles, they're Snap, and as our as we potentially start to wonder if our democracy is being eroded by companies who are these run by dictators. There are other things happening now, right? It's not just a simple question of market and who should be traded. There's bigger things happening. This is this is how I think about it. I was talking to my mom uh, about a family member who was afraid of Bernie Sanders because he's too crazy and blah blah blah. We need a moderate, blah 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 blah. My thought is this: that there are like you have to think ahead. What Bernie represented to me was that income inequality is a big issue that if we don't deal with it now, 30 years from now, it could get weird, right? It could be like people coming at you with their pitchforks burning. So let's like work on stuff now while we can. And I think the same thing about Facebook and about these dictatorships is like don't just kick the can and pass the buck. Let's deal with this now before it's completely out of control. I mean, right? I looking the other way of Oracle getting handed a slice of TikTok is not. I just don't think it's the right move, or letting these Snap frat bros control 99.5% of their company and don't even let their shareholders vote. I don't know. I just think it's like it's going to be too late one day, and that's what I worry about. I don't know. Just come on, let's just get
And
involved.
now you got like a
Don't
lot of these
wait for it to go
companies
bad.
are
Don't wait.
they're direct listing now. Now
Yeah,
it's
don't wait for it to go bad. I mean, this is why I always say like these listing exchanges, these indexes, they have a lot of power that they're not admitting to, and don't just sit around and wait because you're just getting like fabulously rich. It's boring already.
well,
Sorry, CEO of MSCI, but I mean, you eventually, but seriously, like
sorry.
eventually, like you might have to take a stand in society, like as the stakeholder capitalist ghouls sneak up on you. Maybe eventually you have to have an opinion about something and not just shrug your shoulders.
I don't. I
I,
just think you need to define. Honestly, it's not. Look, like you just. To me, if MSCI wants to define the market as part casino and part democracy, right? As in, some swath of the market is going to be casino, and caveat emptor, and some swath is going to be, actual sort of the alternative democracy that markets can be. Then fine, be explicit about that. Like I just want like you to I want any, and I'm not saying this just to MSCI because it's FTSE and S&P and Dow, all the major indices do this exact same thing, and people don't understand the power that the indexes have, because when you create a list and that list effectively represents a market, your pension fund must invest in that list in order to protect the jobs of those people, in order to protect your capital. Because what the SEC says is if the pension fund does something different from that list and they lose money, then that's a really bad thing, because you as a retiree someday, they took a risk doing something different and it lost you your money. So think about if you're a person, if you're a teacher and every part of your paycheck for 30 years of being a teacher went into a giant pool of money so that you could retire one day. And if your job is to make sure that money doesn't get lost, so these teachers can retire. Your job is that at that point not to take a lot of risk and make a lot of weird choices or different choices because you think, oh, well, I think that might be better. Because if that risk doesn't pan out, it's not your money you lost. You made a salary the entire time. It's the teacher's money, and then you're culpable for it. And that's why pension funds don't take risks. They buy lists. And that's why the list makers are so powerful. And right now, the list makers are like, it's cool that, these companies you have no rights at. We don't, we're not going to take a stand because the market hasn't said it's not cool yet. But the fact is, It's not cool. And because people don't
Mm.
know what they're buying. If you're a teacher, you don't know that. You don't know the difference between, like a Facebook stock and a GM stock. You don't know that one of them you can vote Mary Barra out because she won't meet with her employees when they're striking. And the other one, you literally just have to watch as they erode actual democracy because you have no rights to
You
remove
would
the
if you
CEO.
listen to Business Pants.
Oh, well, that's true. But we
All
know
right.
nobody does that. So
Matt, what's going on with you today?
I don't know. I'm all amped up on coffee. But the Oracle thing got me all. I was like, I read
All right.
that this
No, you're
morning.
allowed. You're allowed.
I was ripped. I mean, and fundamentally, right? Like, who enjoys the success of the casino? Nobody goes to Vegas and thinks to themselves, "Wow, I'm gonna make out really well here." The house always wins. Do you know who the house is when you buy a casino stock? It's Zuckerberg who wins. It's not somebody else. It's the fake public billionaire. They're the ones who win. And the TikTok deal just brought it all like right to the surface again. And it's not because there's some scandal that's like, like eroding democracy. It's like there's some overarching systemic problem that we keep our willingness to ignore. We're willing to ignore that we don't have rights at some of these companies, that this is how deals get made, that this is, the power of being a billionaire that I don't have. The fact is, if everybody voted their shares, just like if everybody voted in the United States for president, you'd have dramatically different outcomes at all of these companies. Every single one. All you have to do is vote. I know it's a lot to ask, but that's really it.
Well, here's the thing: is that the people in power in the structure are willing to look the other way, and the people who aren't in power, who are getting screwed, are living in a system where they just don't understand because it's like intentionally confusing.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's all intentionally confusing so that you don't vote. Because when you are that teacher, right, you don't have you've given up your vote to the pension fund who will make the vote for you. But no one thinks to go ask the pension fund, how are you voting? It's all public. You can see it, right? Like, but how did you vote? And why did you vote that way?
I got an idea for you, MSCI. Here's an idea. If you're just like a regular shareholder who owns like a small amount of shares and you just want to do your civic duty and vote at some of these elections, why don't you offer your product for free for these people so that they can kind of like a library for the poor shareholders? Why don't you offer it for free? That's my idea. I'm not talking about.
I think that'll happen.
I'm not talking about for like State Street. I'm just talking about for like your regular Becky down the street. Let her sign in for free. All right. You've happily derailed the show because I don't think it was very interesting to begin with. So I'm just gonna jump around now. Let's talk about the other big story of the day, which is these thousands of leaked documents from the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network were shared with journalists, revealing how big banks have for years engaged with dirty money. The agency, which operates under the Treasury Department, compiles suspicious activity reports when it detects potential or evident financial crimes. Banks such as J.P. Morgan Chase, HSBC, and Deutsche facilitated the movement of criminal money even after getting caught, the agency reported. That's the other big news.
And it took a leak to find out about it.
Who took a leak?
No, I mean, like the documents got leaked out, right? Like it wasn't like.
I was picturing a highway and someone opening their door.
No, we used to cover that stuff when I was an analyst back at the mothership. This is right in my wheelhouse, and none of it is surprising.
It never ends.
HSBC actually in 13, they were caught laundering money for Mexican drug cartels. Okay, they actually set up a whole system in which the cartels could, when you used to take like the tube. You put the like checks and money in the tube and suck up.
We still have a nice tube here. In fact, I think my wife lost her license in there because she forgot to grab it from the tube.
Yes, this was the thing. Like so there used to be for those of you who are of a younger generation.
Hey, wait, no, it's in right here in Portland, Maine. We have a nice tube.
Yeah, but you can't get it anywhere else anymore. Just because Portland lives in the 40s doesn't mean everyone else does.
That's true. We're basically Canada, so forget it.
But there used to be like a physical vacuum tube,
Yeah,
like you
used to be. Stop saying that.
and you'd put your
Killing me.
you
Yeah.
put like your money in the tube, and it would suck up into the bank. And this is
Yep.
what the drive-through was. And HSBC effectively had a version of the tube that was for cartels. Like
Yep.
they facilitated money coming from the cartels in a different way. And at the time, and this is Obama administration, so this is administration agnostic. The Attorney General of the United States of America said we had enough to convict HSBC of a criminal act in facilitating the drug cartels in Mexico, which we have an active effective war against. We had enough to convict HSBC, but we will not, in the interests of the global financial system and its stability. They did not convict HSBC of a criminal act because they wanted to make sure the financial system was stable. And the ripple effects of stuff like that is this. When today you find out that these banks have been basically, moving dirty money all over the place, it's because there's no accountability for doing it. They found out then, oh, if we get caught, nobody can stop us. Why would anybody stop us? We are the financial system, so we
Yeah.
win.
It's the same with like preparing for a epidemic or pandemic. You can't just keep kicking stuff down the road. I mean, eventually you have to roll up your sleeves and handle the hard stuff. Yeah, how many? This is a weird tangent, but it's related in some bizarre way in my brain. Do you know how many? I keep looking at risk statements in companies in their annual reports. Do you know how many? I was looking at one for, I think it was a cruise line. Do you know how many of these companies actually it was list a global pandemic as a risk to their business and yet did nothing about it? I think the one I was looking at was Norwegian Cruise Lines. It was a number 4 listed risk.
Wow.
Why aren't these companies preparing? Well, it's the same with this bank story. It's like we have this unbelievable ability in our society to just we just don't want to get caught up in stuff that's difficult. Is that what it is? It's just like we don't know how to hold people accountable. We don't know what to do. We don't know because some of these people are our friends. Like, what is that? Is it a crony problem?
I
What is
think
the
you just
problem
get
here, Matt?
look, you get paid, you do what you get paid to do.
You want to go home and you want to watch the
Like
Knicks. Like,
Bill Belichick says, do your job, right? And
yeah,
frankly, Cam Newton last night did not do his job. Really, we're jumping at the you're at the 1.5 yard line. You jump straight up.
more importantly, I have to stay up like till 1 a.m. to have it end in a failure.
I know.
That's the most
I
important.
was up
I'm so tired today. If I had known they're going to lose, just lose early. Don't keep me going.
and look, Seattle's a good team. They look good this year, but but that was ridiculous. That one
They look good every year.
that makes everybody in New England be like, if Tom were here,
Oh,
what would the difference have been?
I gotta tell you, since we're off topic now, I don't. I love me some Tom Brady. I don't miss Tom Brady at all.
I don't really either. I do.
I like having a quarterback who can do stuff. It's kind of fun.
I like Cam actually. I mean, I don't like Cam, but I like that we have Cam.
Excuse me. Okay. All right. Let's move back to the
Anyway,
show
my
so we
point
can end
is,
the show.
Belichick says you do what you get paid to do. Belichick says do your job, right? And that's what people do. They do their job. They do what they get paid to do. And if the incentive is such that you can launder money and get away with it, then you do that thing. If the incentive is such that you talk about risk because pandemic risk because it reduces your legal liability, but at the same time you're not paid to deal with pandemic risk, you don't do pandemic risk. Just like climate change risk has been in a lot of these SEC filings as a risk factor for almost every single company in the United States. They talk about climate risk, and almost none of them are doing a lot of it. So
then don't be asking for bailouts. Don't be asking for government help.
Well, that's different with the pandemic.
Then what it means is that your industry has been aware of something for a long time, and you're unwilling to prepare for it, and you're unwilling to be a company that is resilient. You're unwilling to be a company that could survive long term because you're just thinking day to day. That's on you. I mean, I just I just want the cruise industry to contract along with the airline industry. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And
I
I gotta
would
say this,
like. I think.
Mr. Wonderful
Yeah.
from Shark Tank, he's obviously listening to Business Pants because he too wants the airline industry to contract. There's just too much of it.
Well, I will say that maybe you and I should have a hand at rewriting the risk factors in an annual filing, because I do feel like if I were to write the risk factors, it would be like, there is a risk we will spend too much money buying back shares and have none left for any other real risk. There is a risk that I am currently or will grope 3 to 5 women in the next year and get caught doing it. Yeah, I feel like if we rewrote the risk factors, they'd be much more true to form.
Yeah. Well,
Just
yes.
think about it. We should probably wrap up.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? We covered the big hits, right? So I think what we're saying is come to Business Pants for your news. Is that really what we're saying?
Is that how we're...
I mean, look, I think that I know some of this seems like pointless and long-winded, but I think we really do help. If you'd gone to all 12 of these sites, you'd be swimming in nonsense like these headlines: bank and travel stocks lead sharp European market declines. That doesn't tell you anything.
There's no.
What are you gonna do with that?
There's certainly no soul to the news.
Deutsche Bank, which is also helping funnel money to criminals, said that a financial crisis could surprise investors sooner rather than later. What are you supposed to do with that?
So basically, what you're saying,
you're better off listening to Matt go off on a tirade.
Basically what you're saying, 20 minutes of some guy ranting about fake public companies and the rights of shareholders, then the business news that you're reading is wrong for you, and you should come to Business Pants.
Yes, thanks, Matt.
I agree with that hot take. That was Damian Morales. I am Matt Mascardi. We are Free Float Media. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and share. And if you don't like what you heard, also subscribe and share, because I don't care about your opinion. I just care about your clicks. We will be back at you tomorrow with more content. Maybe we'll do more videos. This was not a total train wreck.
It has, yeah. It's not a train wreck because nobody's watching. So,
right. Which makes it perfect for us, just like our podcast. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Damian.
See you, man.